one of the things that we want to be able to do in section 1C is to be able to take a scenario described to us, represent it in a two-way table, and create a Venn diagram. So if we look at this example, there's 100 people. They either grew up in New York or Los Angeles, and they took a survey to see if they preferred hip hop or rock. Now, they had to pick one, and they couldn't pick both. So here, both and neither were not acceptable. That just makes it a little bit easier for us to analyze. So of those who grew up in Los Angeles, 20 preferred hip hop and 40 preferred rock. Of those who grew up in New York, 30 preferred hip hop. So let's try to organize this in a two-way table. So first, we need to identify what our variables are here. So we have New York City and LA as our two different cities that they could have grown up in. Then we have hip hop and rock as the two different genres of music that they preferred. So from here, we can take the information that we know. Of those who grew up in LA, we know that there were 20 hip hop and 40 rock. So I can go ahead and put 20 in hip hop and 40 in rock in that Los Angeles row. Now let's take a look at New York. Of those who grew up in New York, we know that 30 preferred hip hop. We don't know how many preferred rock. However, we do know that there were 100 people in this survey. So let's take a look at this two-way table, and we notice that there are already 90 people included in this survey, so that only leaves us a total of 10 left to get a total of 100. Now, how do we take this two-way table and turn it into a Venn diagram? So what we need to do is to create two circles, and we're going to pick one from the top, and we're going to pick one from the side. The reason we have to do that is we need people to be able to be in both circles. And hip hop and rock are totally separate. New York and LA are totally separate. So we wouldn't want to have those as our two circles. We need to pick one from the top and one from the side so that we do end up with an overlap. It doesn't matter what I choose, so I'm going to do LA and rock, as long as one's from the left and one's from the top. First, let's look at the overlap. What's there in the middle? So here, we're looking for the people who lived in LA and preferred rock music. So in this case, I'm looking at the LA rock music, which is those 40. So I'm going to put a 40 there in the middle. Now let's take a look at the rest of the LA circle. These people are the people who preferred not rock music, which in this case would be hip hop, but also lived in LA. They're in the LA circle, but they're not in the rock circle. So those would be the other 20 people from LA. Those are the ones who did not like rock, but did live in LA. So we'll put 20 there. Well, what about the other side? Here's our rock circle. So people who are in the rock circle, but are not in the LA circle. Well, how can you prefer rock, but not live in LA? Well, that's these 10 who were in New York City, so they were not in LA, but they liked rock. Again, we're just trying to come up with when you're in one circle but not in the other, where does that put you? Or if you're in both circles, where does that put you? And then finally, these 30 people that we haven't identified yet, they go on the outside. They don't belong to either circle. They're not in LA and they don't prefer rock music, and so they belong in the overall Venn diagram, but not in any of the circles.